Well, great to be here today. Appreciate you. Thank you for all coming today. I get it's not about the Chick-fil-A. It's about the new coach, a new era, and UCF volleyball. So very excited. Just want to thank you all again for being here today. And it's always been a special occasion when we come together and welcome a new person to our UCF family. I'm incredibly excited about and proud to introduce Matt Botsford as our new head coach at UCF volleyball. Matt brings with him an impressive resume, a proven track record of success, and a reputation of one of the top of minds in collegiate volleyball. During his 10 years as the head coach at Florida Gulf Coast University, Matt built a powerhouse program. Under his leadership, the Eagles reached the NCAA tournament 5 times, secured 8 Atlantic Sun regular season championships, including this year's historic 29-win season. His achievements place him among the elite, ranking 9th among active Division I coaches in career percentage and 11th in total wins. It's great job. Matt's exceptional ability to recruit, develop talent, and cultivate a championship culture makes him a perfect fit for UCF volleyball as we continue competing on the national stage and our transition to the Big 12. Well, what impresses me most about Matt isn't just his success on the court. It's his unwavering commitment to develop student athletes. Education was always top of mind and first, both as players and as individuals. He understands the importance of balancing academic achievements and athletic success. And his leadership is rooted in integrity and purpose. These qualities are essential as we build upon the tremendous growth and success that UCF volleyball has achieved over the years. I also wanted to take a moment to thank Chris McFarland, our Deputy AD, for his strong leadership throughout this search process and our entire search committee. We had all of our sports supervisors and former student athlete that were comprised of the search committee. We also had another search going on during this time. So a lot of people were busy trying to enhance UCF athletics. Their efforts have been instrumental in helping us identify the right leader for the program. Matt, we're thrilled to welcome you, your wife Lindsay, your 2 children. On behalf of the University Athletics Department, our student athletes, and Knight Nation, we welcome you to Orlando. I'd like to introduce Matt Botsford.
Well, first of all, my comfort zone is not in front of a podium in front of cameras, which, as you learn a little bit more about me and my family, my wife is a media member, so I should be much, much better at this, but I am not. First off, and most importantly, thank you, Terry, for entrusting this amazing opportunity to me to lead this program into its next chapter. I am very gracious for what lies ahead. Big thank you to President Cartwright, Chris, for their involvement in this process as well. A lot of thank yous to get through. My family, my wife Lindsay, who Terry just mentioned, who couldn't be here today, and my children who have allowed me the opportunity to chase my professional aspirations, and here we are in Orlando. Of course, the institution that I'm coming from, Florida Gulf Coast University, having spent a decade there, really instrumental in my development as a person, as a coach, as a father. Built a family down there from arrival to my departure, and just was blessed to work for some amazing people. And I'm just very grateful for the opportunity that was given to me, again, 10 years ago. And my staff, who is sitting here today, 3 people that believed in the vision that I had for UCF volleyball, that couldn't wait to be a part of this next phase in its evolution. And I'm so grateful for the 3 of you for believing in me, and I can't wait to get started. Let me preface, we have gotten started, but officially. Everybody has asked me why UCF. I very clearly had a great situation where I was, and it's really pretty easy. The first most significant thing to me as I went through the interview process was the people that I had met. The leadership, the individuals, the enthusiasm that everybody approached every day with, it was infectious. So that stood out right away. Of course, there is a beautiful location that we're at. There are the resources, there is the shift to the Big 12 conference. There's just a lot of things right now that, from my vantage point, makes this extremely attractive, makes me believe, as Terry would echo, that this program is primed for success at an elite level. And that attracts me. Challenges attract me. For quite some time, UCF Volleyball I've been watching from afar with great respect. We're very familiar with one another from a volleyball point of view, having played against their program. And in fact, somewhere in this building in the archives from 2007 is a resume from a young, unqualified Matt Botsford who thought he might have a shot at that job. And then fast forward 16 years later, and here I am, much better prepared for what lies ahead. So I am just so excited for this next phase and elevating UCF Volleyball to a place that I know it should be and it will be. And at this point, if you all have questions for me, I'd love to address them.
Just remind us, state your name and affiliation for each question.
Coach Brandon Hoeg with UCFsports.com. Welcome to
Thank you.
UCF. Just tell me what kind of potential do you see in this UCF program? Obviously, ended their run in the American Conference with a string of conference championships. Now in the Big 12, a much tougher league. It's an opportunity for multi-bids to the NCAA tournament. So, what kind of upside and potential do you see for UCF?
I don't see any limitations. And that's probably a better way to explain why I'm here. I didn't get the impression that anybody involved with UCF athletics, the volleyball program, believes there are limitations in what can be achieved. They see opportunity, and that's exactly what I see. So we're coming in with high expectations. We're going to do everything we can to put this program in place and put our players in place to succeed at the highest level. I have stated quite often to the people that I've met, my interest is not simply restoring UCF volleyball to what it was. It is to exceed where it has been and get to a new place.
Hey Coach, Dwayne Jones with the Sons of UCF. When fans show up to watch UCF volleyball, what can they expect to see from this team?
It's probably going to be different year to year. I think that's a focal point of my coaching philosophy is we're going to learn how to create a system that best benefits the players that we have at the gym at that point. Of course, there are going to be certain non-negotiables. We're going to always be a great blocking team. Sean Kirikoff is going to be certain of that. We're going to handle the ball. Trevor and Kate are going to make sure that that's taking place, but you're going to see a team that is always well prepared. Always well prepared. We're going to do everything we can to position ourselves to leverage our strengths and make sure that wherever weaknesses may exist, they can't be exploited out there on the court.
Welcome, Coach. Bryson Turner, Black and Gold Banneret.
Hi.
You were a Florida Gulf Coast for 11 seasons. You just came off being the Southeast Region Coach of the Year of the ABCA. What made this the right time for you to move jobs specifically here to Orlando?
Well, I don't think there's ever a right time. If anything I've learned over the years professionally, it's never going to be perfect because you're leaving something you care deeply about, and that makes it difficult. And that's happened to me in the past. That has happened probably to everybody in this room. But again, it's about opportunity. It's looking at where UCF volleyball was positioned, is positioned, and more importantly to me, where I believe they can be. And that's always going to be attractive if I see potential in something. And there is very clearly just an absolute ton of potential in this program.
Hi, Kristen Lago with
Hi.
Watch 2 here. Our sister station in Fort Myers talked to one of your former players, I think, when you first announced it. That was a good thing.
Okay, good.
And she obviously was talking about kind of what you talked about, the philosophy that you bring to the court and what fans can see from the players themselves. But something that struck me was she talked about the toughness that you instill in your players. How do you go about instilling a type of gritty, tough mentality in a team?
Yeah, you can't get to that if at first you're not focused on building trust between you and your players and your staff and players and them understanding that you care about them as individuals first. Mm-hmm. But once you've established that, it is a little bit easier to create an environment within the gym separate from that where we celebrate competitiveness, toughness, and we put them in situations where they have to exist outside of their comfort zone. But again, it can be a dangerous game if your players don't trust you, but we spend a lot of time making sure that they understand that the individuals that we care about, and then we're doing everything we can to build them up as athletes. So I think that's why it has worked for us there. And it is absolutely something that we will try to recreate here. That gym environment is really important to success. If we can closely mimic what is happening in a game environment and get as close as possible to it, you can never get there at 100%, but we did a pretty good job getting as close as we could, so our players were comfortable in pressure situations and comfortable being uncomfortable, I would say.
Hey, Matt. Matt
Yeah.
Michaud, the Orlando Sentinel. You talked about you submitted a resume here for the
Yeah.
job in 2007. How much have you changed since that time, and what are some of the lessons that maybe you've learned, whether they be
Yeah.
hard lessons or whatever, that have got you to this point to
Yeah.
find you standing right here today?
Less hair. The hair I have is turning white. That's a big part of it. It's funny to look back, and I had that moment as I was going through this process and could recall sitting at my desk at the University of Miami thinking about what a great opportunity the UCF head coaching job would be. But as I mentioned, I wasn't prepared then. I didn't know what went into building a program. I think I had knowledge of the game, but you have to be so much more than just a volleyball coach as a leader of a program. You have to be able to manage personalities. You have to be able to instill certain ideals, make people believe. There's just, again, much more to it. So I'm better prepared in totality for what is required to run a program. And as far as coaching, philosophies change, you grow. I've always been a teacher by nature. That was my profession before I took a left turn into volleyball. So, I've always thought being able to adapt to your students, in this case to our student athletes, was a key. So I've held that with me. But a lot of the other things have changed tactically, technically, as the game has evolved.
Coach, back here,
Yes.
Nathaniel Rivas with WKMG CBS here in Orlando. You talked about the potential for UCF, the expectations that you have of this team. What are some realistic expectations in the short term and in the long term for this UCF team?
Well, the first thing and the priority in the short term is to build the trust that I was just speaking about with the current team. They have to know that our priority is them, getting them familiar with who we are, and showing them that anything that we're going to ask of them in terms of work is going to be mirrored by their coaching staff. And so as that continues to grow and that trust continues to grow, we'll have a better sense of what our expectations will look like for the season coming forward, longer term and whatnot. But look, I think we can be better right away. I'm not prepared to say what better looks like. I've been in the gym with them for 5 days. But we will get there, and I'm hoping that we can get there as quickly as possible, provided that we're doing it a sustainable way. And that's probably equally important.
How have those first 5 days gone with you and the players, and how would you also describe your coaching style?
Yeah. It's been great. I think this is always a really exciting moment and phase for everybody. New beginnings, everybody can get on board with that. For us, walking into the gym for the first time, them hearing our voices for the first time. But the challenge will be, how is that 4 months from now? How is that 2 years from now? We've got to stay attuned to the longevity of this level of excitement and enthusiasm. And then as far as coaching philosophy, I'm a demanding coach, and I believe in accountability, but I would never ask anything of them that I'm not asking of myself and my staff. And with that being said, I'm also fair. I think that's important. I can hold you accountable, I can be tough, but I will be fair. And if they truly begin to trust that is the case, we will be able to get much more out of everybody involved with the program.
I'm just curious what excites you the most about the Big 12 Conference and the level of competition that you're
Well,
now
you just
playing.
hit it. It's the level of competition on a week in, week out basis. That's a really exciting piece and part of the attraction to this job for coaches and staff and for players and for recruits that are eventually going to be here. It is to be tested every night. And the Big 12, the depth in the Big 12 recently has really been impressive. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to the process. And that's a real big key to me in building a program. Winning is an outcome. I want our players to love the process. Okay, it becomes a byproduct of that process, but we got to love to work. We got to love to prepare, and we will have to do exactly that if we're going to be successful in a conference like the Big 12.
Coach, you've been to the NCAA tournament 5 times, Florida Gulf Coast. That very first time, of course, was actually in this building,
Uh-oh.
the venue against UCF
Yeah.
in 2018.
Yep.
Just own
I
it.
thought that was a no-no.
You ended up pulling off the win in that one, but what did that win do for you as a coach, and what does it feel like now to be in this building once again, but now the coach of the Knights?
Yeah. That was a seminal moment in FGCU volleyball program history, and it was something, of course, that we could look to. The players that took that leap of faith with me as a new coach inheriting a losing program, we talked about what we were going to build, and that night for them was a reminder of what all that hard work is for. So yeah, that's exciting from that perspective. From this side, yeah, we can move on from that. Like we don't. But yeah, of course, I can't forget it. I'll never forget it. Our players will never forget it. And walking in here for the first time after that, it's memorable and brings back special thoughts and relationships and the players that were out on the court with us. But UCF has plenty of those moments in their history as well, so we want to make sure that we're connecting with the players that were a part of that, the alumni that helped create a foundation, the former coaches. I know we've got a former player back there that I know pretty well from across the net, so I'm excited about that as well. I'm excited about building new memories for this new group of players and those that will be wearing the Knights uniform in the future.
Coach, you grew up in Indiana, right?
I grew up everywhere. That's
Okay.
home to me. We moved a lot, but yes, I consider Indiana to be home.
Okay, so when did you discover your passion for the game of volleyball, and when did that spark come that you wanted to coach volleyball?
So that could be an hour-long conversation, but the abridged version is I was not introduced to the game of volleyball until I was 17, maybe 18. I was born in California, spent 14 years in the West Coast. Everybody would assume that my introduction to the sport would have come there. It was not. I was a track athlete, and I just fell upon volleyball and found some mentors that cared deeply about me once they recognized I had a passion for the game. Trained, taught, became a collegiate level player, then ultimately a professional player. And when the body tells you your time is up, I was not ready to give the sport up. And I was committed to going as far as I could in the profession because it never felt like work to me. And believe me, I tried other things, 9 to 5, business, high school teacher. Nothing spoke to me the way that coaching has spoke to me.
Coach, you've talked about building a program and how college athletics has changed over time. How does the use of NIL factor into what you're trying to build on top of recruiting in this area? How do you plan on managing that at UCF?
Yeah, it's been interesting to watch this shift, and I think you have to quickly learn to adapt and navigate. I think if you're spending too much energy being resistant, then you're losing ground against your competitors. So we are going to embrace it. We're going to find creative ways to utilize it. And we're going to make sure that that is a part of our recruiting philosophy. But what exactly and how specifically that is right now, I don't know. It's in its infancy, and a part of that is just me gaining more knowledge about what that space looks like.
Matt, how was your time in Sweden? How did that impact or affect you when it came to volleyball?
Yeah.
Are the Swedes big on the volleyball?
So
Swedes.
On first name basis.
Couple of things. If my wife was here, she would echo this. If it wasn't for her wanting to get back to her profession, I think I would have lived there the rest of my life. It was a really special place, special people, and culturally. But really, of course, it shaped me, and it was probably the purest example of coaching I will ever experience in my life. It won't happen again because of what was just alluded to, NIL, recruiting. There were general managers, there were people in place to bring players. You could identify who we might want, but they took care of getting them there. And all I did every day was coach volleyball. It wasn't filling out care logs, it wasn't travel, it was pure coaching. So that will always remain a highlight of my career.
Coach, you coached for 11 years at FGCU, in the A-Sun. Of course, you faced UCF during its American era in the AAC. Now it's in the Power Four. Mm-hmm. So, what is the difference that maybe you saw at least from the other side, looking at UCF at G5, and then you being at FGCU, and now coming to UCF as a P4 job?
Yeah, you have to be able to and willing to adapt. The game is played, when I say higher level, I mean literally above the net, right? So the athletes are bigger, higher, stronger, faster. So you've got to be able to evolve, both in terms of system, both in terms of athletes. But at its core, volleyball is volleyball, and if you can prepare and train young women the right way and get the right personnel to believe in what you're doing, I think that success can translate. But it is not an easy transition, and I don't suspect that this is going to be an easy transition, but that's attractive to me. I don't want something that's easy. We're going to have to work, we're going to have to get creative, and we will do exactly that.
The nature of recruiting has really changed the last few years with the transfer portal. How do you kind of envision, building your program? Are you going to try to, build it from the high school ranks? Are you going to recruit nationally? Are you going to hit the portal?
Yeah.
Like, what do you kind of see as far as that goes?
That question comes up, and I love to rail on the transfer portal and the direction things are going, but it is so hypocritical because I've benefited greatly from the transfer portal. So I don't have to like it to recognize it is a significant instrument to help a program. I think it should be used to supplement things, not replace. For us, I do believe our greatest attribute as a staff is going to be the ability to develop players. So we have to stay firm in our belief that we can do that from the younger high school players, and then when necessary, bring in transfer players that fit the needs at that moment and that we think fit culturally with what we're doing. So I do think it's a balance that we have to find.
I'm just also curious, how is Florida kind of developing as a high school volleyball state for someone who's been here for a long time? Everyone knows about the Midwest, but how does Florida stack up now?
So when I was here 2003, 2004 at the University of Miami, it looked very different than what it looks like right now. There is a ton of talent in the state of Florida. Right here in our backyard in Orlando is one of the hotbeds of volleyball throughout the nation. So that is a big priority for me. Thankfully, we all have great relationships with those clubs, those coaches, and we're going to lean on them. I want to make sure that those players, the best players in Orlando and the state of Florida, know that UCF is a viable opportunity for them and that they would have an amazing experience here at UCF.
Coach, at FGC, you were the director of volleyball. They also have a beach volleyball team. I know it's still early, but is there any plans of maybe bringing beach volleyball to UCF?
That's a Terry question. My interest is indoor volleyball only. I did that for a while, and it is,
No.
Yeah, there you go.
Coach, you talked about personnel earlier. Of course, your staff has been announced since you hired a little bit ago. Can you tell us just a little bit about the three coaches that you brought?
Absolutely. Well, I was lucky enough to bring Kate Morrell with me from FGCU. She was my associate head coach there and will act as our associate head coach here. We spent 5 years together, and I can still remember her interview walking away, and I think I told my wife later that night that I was absolutely going to do everything I could to hire her, and it had everything to do with, she's very knowledgeable in volleyball, but it was how she carried herself and the confidence in which she interacted with me and everybody that I saw her during that process. And for me, it was a strong female role model that I thought could impact the lives of our players in a different way than I could, and that's always going to be hugely important to me. So she fulfills a ton of needs I have in terms of sport, but most importantly, it is the connection points that she's able to build with players that I'm really excited for the UCF team. Sean, to her right, is somebody I've known for probably close to 30 years, and admired from afar his knowledge of the game and the way he attacks. What he's done over the last 10 years as a head coach at Northwestern State, considering some of the inherent challenges that come with a university like that, it's really remarkable. And over the years, as we spent more time with one another in the gym, I knew a lot of things in terms of his expectations and approaches mirrored my own, and those that didn't were really interesting to me to look closely at and examine if maybe he was onto something that I wasn't. So it just creates this really good dialogue between two people that care deeply about the sport. So I was excited to get him in. He's one of the best blocking coaches in the nation. And that's going to be the hallmark of our teams as we move forward. So that was a big key. So happy that he had said yes. And then Trevor, to Kate's left here, is our young gun. He is coming from the University of Virginia. And immediately when it was announced that I was taking this position, I had multiple people that I have built relationships with over the year reach out to me and say, the second I get a head coaching job, he's the first call I'm making. You've got to get him. Trevor and I connected, had some great conversations about his views on the sport, training. It was also important to me that he's a Florida native. I thought those connection points will ultimately pay dividends for us and the relationships we're hoping to build with our program and clubs throughout the state. And just passion, and that's big to me. I love what I do every day. And I love players that are passionate about the sport, a staff that is passionate about the sport. It doesn't feel like work when you care that deeply about something. And I knew from the start that he was absolutely passionate about coaching. So excited. All three of them are a great compliment to me. And that's a key, right? I want to fill my staff with people smarter than me, better than me, and that I can pick their brain and help guide this place. And we did exactly that. So it was a home run.
Any more questions? All right, thank you, Matt. At this time,
All right.
we'll bring up